Alright, so around 22 days ago on New Year's Eve, I released a video on the Diablo Lite plugin, and I was pleasantly surprised with how well it worked on my drums. And now it is finally the day where the full version of Diablo is out on the market. So how is Cymatics' first crack at making a plugin gonna turn out? Let's find out. Now, the first thing that I should say before we get started is that Cymatics reached out to me personally to send me the Diablo plugin so I can give a review for you guys. But in no way, shape, or form am I going to have a biased review. This is going to be all my honest opinion. Now, let's go over some of the design and the features that Diablo has to offer. So on the left side of the plugin, you've got 4 knobs, the first being the punch. People are saying that punch is more of a transient shaper, which I don't know if I really agree with. In order to be a shaper, you need to be doing multiple different things. Whereas here, the punch just really seems to boost the transient. So I really don't consider that a shaper. Anyway, moving on. And yes, punch and clip over here were the only 2 knobs available in the Diablo Lite plugin. And if you don't know, the clip knob over here is a soft or hard clipper, which basically just deals with distortion and compression. Now for right now, those are the only 2 knobs that we really know about before really diving into the plugin, but Diablo Lite did only have 10% of the features that the full version of Diablo has. So the knobs that we will be looking into today are the boost knob, body, heat, and then on the right side, the sizzle, width, and magnitude. So we also have a filter over here with the frequency and tilt, an EQ section to manage your low, mid, and high frequency ranges, and last but not least, we have this mix tab over here with a signal flow and whatever that is. Now I gotta say, I'm really appreciating the design that they chose for this plugin. Very simple and clean, it does not look overwhelming, but also looks like they took their time with every little detail here. And overall, I think it's just a really beautifully designed plugin. Alright, so that is going to be the full overview of Diablo. But before we go in depth into the plugin, we need to make a simple jump pattern to do our tests. So let's go and do that right now. Alright, so now that all of the formalities are out of the way, we are back inside of FL Studio. Alright, now all we need is a melody loop to inspire our drum pattern. Gonna put that one down now. It's only a 4-bar loop, are you serious? I think I actually want to slow that down just a little bit more. But in order to do that, I'm gonna be speeding up the tempo and then stretching it to 8 bars instead. Alright, the next thing is going inside of Omnisphere and then using the MIDI that I've got for this melody loop. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Alright, sorry it takes long on the melodies. Let's go ahead and start going on the drums now. Let's go ahead and see here. What kind of drums do we want to use today? Alright, now, for the selection of the drums before we start adding the Diablo plugin, Cymatics has even said that the Diablo plugin can make the stock FL Studio drums sound amazing. Let's go ahead and grab those for today's video. So this is the 808 that we're going to be using today. It's very minimal. I might be able to make this work if I make the, if I doctor it up a little bit. So let's go over here and then really crank up the out parameter. We're gonna have to use it inside of the audio editor and fade out. I'm just gonna start grabbing random sounds, but we might not use everything in here. Yeah, I do. I also want to see what I can do to a snare though, definitely. Yeah, we can definitely use it on the 808 snare. Alright, let's stop messing around and just get started. Yeah, so this stock 808 is gonna be very hard for you guys to hear on anything other than speakers, so we'll fix that in editing with Diablo. And then one thing that I like to do is go over to the filter cutoff and then do something like that. Yeah, the first thing that's really gonna have to go is the kick. This kick sounds terrible. That needs some work. Okay, so I think that we have our drum pattern all ready to go, and if it's not obvious yet, we need to do a lot of work inside of Diablo to make these drums sound even remotely up to standard. So with that being said, if you've seen my Diablo Lite video, you probably know that I'm recording this like 2 or 3 days before the plugin actually even comes out. So, I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Alright, so it is finally time. I have been sitting at my computer waiting for them to send me the email to get started. Okay, so I was not sure if they were going to be sending me their second plugin, Vortex, which is going to be an 808 enhancer, but they actually sent me that as well. Alright, I'm just too excited. We gotta get started. So I am going to be using my speakers to do the mixing here, just to make sure I can hear everything properly, but let's get right into it. Okay, so the very first thing that I was hearing is that the kick really needs a lot of work done to it. So now we can go on to the full version of Diablo right here. Alright, and upon launching the plugin, there's this tip right here. If the effect of Diablo is too intense, try reducing the input gain, mix, or magnitude. Even though this was one of the first knobs inside of the Diablo Lite plugin, I do want to try that out over here as well. So before, now after. Alright, now body right here, they said is going to be a compressor. I know before that I said that the clip knob dealt with compression, and it sort of does. If your sound does go above 0 dB, it will in turn be doing some compression, but it's not inherently a compression knob. That's going to be for the body right here. So if you feel like your kick is a little bit too short and you want to really beefing it up a little bit, this body knob will really help out with that. Now, I do like my kicks to be a little bit more snappy and short, so I'm going to keep it right around there. Okay, so boost is actually going to be dealing a little bit with EQ and certain little parameters for different drum sounds. You've got 2 for kick right here, a snare, and then 1 for just some low-end resonance. Let's go and try out kick 1 and see what it does for that. Let me go ahead and show you what they're doing inside of the boost knob. So here, all of this is doing is creating some sort of peak. And you can see the frequency ranges that I'm at over here. Right now I'm at around 33 hertz, which generally I like my kicks to be around, I like to say around like the 35 to 40 hertz range. So by boosting this knob right here, right, up and down is going to be how much the peak is going to be dramatic, like this. And then sliding this knob right here is going to be the equivalent of going over here and sliding it like this. Very minor tuning, but can really add a whole lot more bass and a little bit more foundation to your kick. We'll keep it around 32 right now. And if you feel like at any point the effect of Diablo is going a little bit too hard, like the tip said, go ahead and go over here and lower down the mix a little bit or the input knob. Okay, so heat is basically all just about distortion. And they do have 4 different distortion types to go through: blaze, demon, flame, and pyro. So let's go over here and see what this does. Let's go and try out demon at the same range. Let's try out flame. Finally, let's go and try out pyro. Alright, they all sound pretty solid. Now, a few of these knobs all deal with saturation and distortion, but they all do it within their own respective way. Like sizzle right here, I know focuses more on the top end of distortion. So let's hear how that sounds now. Now, that's not exactly my cup of tea, but they do have a few different ones over here, like crush. Let's try exciter. I think I enjoy Exciter the most there. Now onto the clip knob, which was already inside of the Diablo Lite version. That sounds pretty good right there. Okay, now width right here is going to be probably the most, wait, what was magnitude? Oh, okay. So magnitude basically is like the master for the knobs, but not necessarily the master for the output. See, because the mix dials down everything for the entire plugin, but lowering down the magnitude lowers the knobs, but not the low, mid, or anything else over here. Alright, so those are all 8 knobs that we have at our disposal using the Diablo plugin. But now let's check out these 3 little tabs over here. Let's try out this filter one. So here, if you want to sound a little bit more knocking, you can put it down a little bit so it's only the low end and the mid tones, because adding saturation and distortion can sometimes add a little bit too much high end, so you can go and correct those imperfections here in the filter section. But that is not the extent of how you can manipulate the sample's frequency range. Here we have an EQ with low, mid, and high knobs. Okay, and I think here your best bet's going to be to use these very sparingly. Like here, all I really did was boost the low end by 2 dB and left the mid and high untouched. All right, now the one thing that I don't know is the signal flow. Let's see if it does anything else. Okay, very interesting. You can definitely hear a very pronounced difference there. Okay, so that is what this is. This is just basically polarity. So if you go over here, right, let's go into some random kick. So if you look at the audio wave file over here, this is reversing polarity right there. That's basically all that it does. And it looks like it should be no different inside of Diablo as well. Very cool. Alright, so I feel like the kick in this drum pattern needed the most work done to it. So now I'm just going to go through and add it to the snare and probably just do some very minor changes. Yeah, it's sounding pretty weak right now. So on this one mixer channel, we do have the clap and the snare, but for right now, I want to focus on just the snare. So I'm going to be muting the clap and seeing what we can do to that. Alright, so the one thing that I will be saying for the snare over here is that I'm going to be increasing the hertz range quite a bit, all the way to around 1000. And the reason for that is that's around the same range that a human clap would be. Doing that would have it end on around the 1000 hertz range. So if you want your snare to end on that sort of noise, it would be around there. I feel like Demon cuts through the most in the mix right there. Now just the clip. Alright, now with the width knob, I purposely left out until just now. They recommend using the width knob for more snares and 808s to create separation between your frequencies, which I really don't feel like would be such a smart idea for your kicks because I want those to be very mono. Which if you want to use it for kicks, I would go all the way down to 0. That would make it completely mono. But for a snare, we might want to go ahead and widen that a little bit. Cool, I like that a lot. And because I lowered the input knob down to -7 dB, it's going to make those adjustments a little bit more natural. Okay, and now with the kick and the snare all edited, let's see how this sounds. Alright, the last individual instrument that I want to go ahead and try now is the 808, which we are going to be starting off with Diablo right here, but also we are going to be using the Vortex to really manipulate this 808, because this 808's rough on its own, man. And I'm listening to this on speakers right now, so it sounds pretty decent as far as the bass goes, but I sincerely doubt that any of you guys can hear that on phones. And that already sounds a lot better. Okay, so I feel like this is the appropriate range that you would use the width on your 808. You don't want to be doing anything too drastic here. But just for now, let's go and turn off everything except for the width and see what the Cymatics Vortex plugin has to do. Okay, I'm very, very excited to see what this Vortex plugin can do. Alright, let's go and try out the fire preset. Alright, so far, definitely favoring towards the fire knob. Alright, now finally the radiation preset. Wow, okay, so the main thing here that I'm noticing is that if you really want to boost this output, it's gonna make things go crazy. Fire knob is still my favorite, but we still have one more tab to check out. This is going to be the ultraviolet tab. Wow, that is something. This one sounds like it'd be very good for more of like a sub bass, which I think is more suited towards genres like EDM or future bass, stuff like that. But so far for here, I think that I'm gonna be enjoying the fire and the radiation tab the most. I'm starting to feel like I got the wrong melody loop for this for this drum pattern. Okay, so now the final thing that I want to go over is instead of putting them on each individual drum, I want to put them onto a mixer bus for the drums and see what we can really do with that instead of Diablo. Again, it's gonna be lowering down the input a little bit just so we have more room to add our effects. Okay, so small little idea here. If you want to add like some really crunchy drums, this would be the perfect plugin to use. Like using this crush knob over here would be perfect for any sort of like old school boom bap sound that you really want to go for. This is where you would get it. Alright, I think that's all that I've really got to do for this drum bus. I feel like it's going to cut a lot more through the mix. And again, we are just using these stock FL Studio drums here. Just imagine what you can accomplish by getting some real quality packs. In fact, I've got a couple in the description down below. Completely free, just for you. I know that we only skimmed over the Vortex plugin in here. I can definitely do a more in-depth review if you guys would like me to, but I don't think there's a whole lot more than I can really elaborate on there. And also, I was thinking about putting Diablo up against some of the more popular plugins. For example, my drum shaper has always been DS10 by XLN, so I can pit those two up against each other and see how each one does. Both different plugins in their own respect, but I want to see how they can really match up against each other and if Diablo can really change what your go-to plugin is for drums. And I told you guys at the beginning, just because Cymatics sent me these plugins does not mean that it's gonna have a very biased review. And I can honestly say that my wholehearted opinion about Diablo is that it's a great plugin. Alright, so that is really all that I've got for you guys here today. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like down below as it helps me out a lot, and subscribe for more future content. Thank you so very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Welcome to the simulation.